Hello and welcome. My name is Commander Crimshadow, and this is Elite Dangerous News. In today's news, I've got a hot lead on some Marlinist sympathizers, upcoming changes to stations, and I give a quick state of the channel. First off, I have to lead with the breaking news. Today's Galnet for 30 September mentioned a series of systems where Senator Petraeus has imposed lockdowns and martial law in order to bring Marlinists and potential Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army sympathizers to heel. Those systems being Ackwada, Beatis, Chana, and I'm going to absolutely pronounce this correctly, Nahuatl? Now, the Galnet article simply states that potential NMLA sympathizers are being, quote, arrested for interrogation. Now, I couldn't use the motto I do if I didn't jump out to these systems to have a look. While there might be something hidden deeper than what I found, as far as the systems go, things are relatively common for a system in lockdown. Pirate activities of various threat levels and Imperial Navy checkpoints dot the systems. The interesting part came when I docked at the stations in these systems. Each system had a news article that was specific to that system's controlling faction on how they had aligned themselves behind the Marlinist banner, even though each publicly condemns the actions of the NMLA in bombing the 4 Imperial stations 2 weeks ago. I've been showing an image of each news clip here, but I'll read them out loud at the end of the video for those who'd like to listen. On to station changes that should be happening this upcoming weekly tick. First off, we've got 5 new Coriolis stations that should be coming online in these systems, and 5 new Orbis starports coming online in these systems. In addition, due to some truly stellar work by Operation Ida, other commanders, and frankly a whole slew of fleet carriers, all 4 of the damaged stations should be fixed this weekly tick, as all of their commodities have been delivered. Now, to bring things a little bit closer to home for me, those of you who've been subbed to me all this time might have noticed I haven't put out much content for a bit. Well, my goal is to start things back up. I'm hoping to pick up mostly where I left off, finish my Codex series, and maybe move on to a few other subjects before Odyssey comes out. I plan to put out another video to talk more about the state of my channel and why I was away for so long, promise nothing serious. But I did want to say thank you to everyone who watched, subscribed, and had kind words to share while I was away. I'll sign off now, but I will be reading the news snippets following my sign off. This has been Commander Crimshadow bringing you independent news for independent pilots. Join me next time for more Elite Dangerous News where I'll be jumping, so you don't have to. From Ackwada. Local faction adopts Marlinist philosophy. The Deduckless Empire League, a prominent faction in the system, has confirmed that it supports the political ideology known as Marlinism. Tamsin Taylor, a spokesperson for the organization, explained to the press why the Deduckless Empire League has nailed its colors to the Marlinist mast. The first thing I must stress is that we do not condone killing innocent civilians, and we're absolutely appalled by the murder of Harold Duval. These actions were wrong, and nobody in the Deduckless Empire League wants violence of any kind. But when you take a closer look at what true Marlinism is all about, it becomes clear how much it makes sense. The Empire really has stopped listening to the voice of its citizens. When Marlin Duval first colonized Achenar, the last thing she expected was for her family line to become dictators. If we can recover her democratic ideals without resorting to terrorism, then power and wealth might be more evenly distributed than they are now. From Beatis, Marlinism Increasing in Popularity. The political movement, known as Marlinism, is experiencing a resurgence of interest as a result of dramatic recent events. Extremists called the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army, NMLA, struck against 4 starports that were owned by Duval interests. The group's hatred against the Imperial family also led them to assassinate Prince Harold Duval. Naturally, the public has voiced shock and disgust at these acts, but some have looked more closely at the philosophy the NMLA claims to be fighting for. Local leader Amrita Ross gave a statement to explain why the Beatis Citizens Forum is now actively campaigning for political change. I'm aware that saying this risks being called a terrorist sympathizer, but although the NMLA is horribly misguided, our people would directly benefit from Marlinist ideology. Imagine being able to vote for a senator who was one of us, someone who actually represented our interests. We don't want to burn everything down and rebuild, but we do think that Achenar has held onto power for too long. It's time that the outer systems had more of a say in how we're governed. From Chana, local faction now run by Marlinists. Shocking reports have come to light that those in charge of the Hirmanada Imperial Society are supporters of Marlinism, the twisted ideology practiced by the NMLA. This revelation first came to light in a local news desk piece by journalist Victor Main. Quote, terrorists in our midst, or just bad politics. After many of its leaders admitted recently that they identify as Marlinists, this is the question we must ask of the Hirmanada Imperial Society. With Marlinist monsters killing thousands with their dirty bombs, not to mention gunning down a member of the Imperial family in cold blood, is this the right time for them to be flying that blood-drenched flag? In response, this press release was published by the Hirmanada Imperial Society. We categorically deny any association with the NMLA. There is a fundamental difference between the non-violent political aspirations of Marlinism and the abhorrent beliefs of the Neo-Marlinists. We do not tolerate or support the activities of terrorists. And lastly, from Nahuatl. Polls confirm Marlinism on the rise. The Republican movement, centered around the historical figure of Marlin Duval, is now more popular than ever in our system according to recent polls. Political reporter John Carlson published this report for local news. There have always been followers of Marlinism within our system, with many openly expressing the wish that they could elect the Empire's rulers. But that viewpoint has now become mainstream with outright approval for the NMLA's goals, if not their methods. Companies, organizations, and celebrities have united to publicly call for the replacement of hereditary rule with democratic representation. Most significantly, the Nahuatl Guardians of Tradition has realigned its value structure around core Marlinist principles, taking care to specify that it stands against all forms of violence. There's no doubt that the people of Nahuatl can feel the winds of change begin to blow, but with much of the Empire voicing outrage for the NMLA's campaign of terror, what this means for us remains to be seen. Thanks for tuning in. See you again next time.